Welcome back to another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show. So happy to have you with me today. Remember to subscribe, share the podcast, leave comments. I would love to hear from you guys. Also, you can follow me online at katrinajohnson.online or on Instagram at I am Katrina Johnson. I thank you again for joining me, and let's get into the show. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining me on another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show. And I am very, very grateful to have you as always. Well, I am continuing on the subject of forgiveness. So that's this season's topic. And I feel like I can go on and on with this one for a while. But we'll see how long it goes. I just think it is one very important component to living your best life. So I'll go on with this topic for as long as I feel that it's necessary. You know, there's just so much you can discuss. So this past week, I did some online social media polls, and all of my content was based around forgiveness, of course. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about some of the responses I got this week online, whether it was from the polls that I put up or just some posts that I put up pertaining to forgiveness. For the most part, I think most of the responses were positive. I did have maybe a few questions come up, statements of how it can be kind of difficult, that type of thing. I had one negative response, and, out of probably over 100 responses to one particular post, I guess that's not too bad. And this particular person, I feel, could really, really use some forgiveness techniques, or could really try to practice forgiveness, only because of the response that they gave. And I'm sure we were all there at one point, maybe feeling that way at one point. But anyway, so today's episode, I'm just going to share some of the responses. I did one poll. I posted a poll that asked the question, have you ever planned to forgive someone but didn't go through with it? And 33% said yes. 67% of the people that answered the poll said no. So I think I've probably experienced that as well, especially before I really realized what forgiveness, the benefits that forgiveness has for a person, and what it does for you as far as an individual, as far as freeing you from any negative emotions. But yes, 33% of the people that answered the question said that they would forgive, or that they have forgiven someone after planning to do so, where 67 said no. So the no's have it. Again, let me just repeat that question. Have you ever planned to forgive someone but didn't go through with this? So 67% of the people that answered this question went through with it. 33 said that they planned it but didn't go through with it. And then another question I had asked was, do you forgive easily? 50% said yes, and 50% said no. So that was a 50-50. And one comment said that it just depends on the nature or the level of the offense, basically. So in other words, if it was something that this person felt like it wasn't too bad of a situation, or too hard or crucial of an offense, that they could forgive easily. But if it was something that was really traumatic, then the answer would be no. So I found that was pretty interesting, because I think a lot of times we do measure the offense as far as, whether or not we will be able to forgive, or rather how easy it is to forgive is based on the nature of the offense. I can truly understand that. Now, I posted a video as well this week, and in the video I said that even we've seen on television, maybe a news report, that someone may have gone to jail for taking the life of someone else, and then there might be a family member in court seeing that person get convicted, and at the end of the trial, or once that person's been convicted, the family member might speak out and say that they forgive that person. Now, that's a lot for people to understand if they've never experienced forgiving, and if they don't understand the benefits of forgiving. And so that brings me to the one negative response I received from one of the online people that saw my post. Actually, this wasn't even in response to the video where I kind of gave an example of how that could happen. This was in response to a post about forgiveness. And this person basically was saying how, forgiveness isn't working, basically. And that we need to not basically promote forgiveness because of the number of black folks that are, being murdered and so on and so forth. And so this person even went on to say that they would never tell someone's family who was murdered by cops to forgive. And now, I never said that in my video. I just said there are people that will do that. They have that in their heart to forgive because they know that that's going to release them and free them from the turmoil that comes from holding a grudge and holding on to unforgiveness. So this person that, like I said, responded not to that video, but just in general about forgiveness, I truly believe they could really benefit from learning how to forgive. And again, it's not an easy thing to do. And of course, if somebody hurt one of my family members, I would be totally distraught. And, I would probably wrestle with the whole forgiveness thing. I'm just being honest. But deep down in my heart, I know it's the right thing to do if I want to have peace in my life. So that was the one that was pretty hard for me to swallow in terms of, wow, okay, that stung. But, it's everybody's not going to agree with you. Everybody, we're all at different levels in our journey in this life. So I get it. I do truly get it, and I understand it. A lot of people made comments based on the posts that went forth this week. Pretty much, like I said, most of them were positive. One person said it takes plenty of courage and strength to forgive those that hurt you. And yes, that's true. It really does. Someone asked the question, how do you forgive someone who did something so terrible to you? And then my response to that person, I did answer that question. It's a good question. And I just responded like this. You have to find it deep within your heart to forgive. It doesn't come natural, but it is a spiritual act that only God can grace you with the power to forgive. And then somebody else had made a comment based on one of the posts on forgiveness. Let go and let God. And that's basically what I said in a nutshell just before I read this Let Go and Let God. It's a God thing. It's a spiritual experience. You can't do it on your own. And people have to realize that. Someone else says that, let's see, they said forgiveness and love. The God that I know is for forgiveness and love. And if you don't do what my God told you to do, he will never be with you. And he is with me through thick and thin, all the ways and through my life. So that's a person that has a relationship with God, and they understand that it is by the grace of God that they can forgive. Because again, God forgave us, right? He forgives us. Someone said, when we forgive, that is when we really grow. Let me read that again. When we forgive, that is when real growth starts to happen. Holding grudges won't let us grow. That is so true. That's so true. And then someone writes, someone posts, there is an element of forgiveness that does require repentance on the part of the offender, but that shouldn't stop us from at least being willing to forgive any and everyone who wrongs us. Jesus said we should forgive up to 490 times in one day. That's the kind of attitude we need to have as Christians in particular, if we are to truly show the love of Christ in an increasingly dark and dying world. Well said. I am a believer. I am a follower of Christ. And I know that was said is right on time, right on point. You can't wrestle with that. That is what we are to do. And a lot of people don't realize it, especially if you're not spiritually inclined. It's kind of hard to even grasp it. But again, we are only here by the grace of God. We only wake up each and every morning by the grace of God. How many times within a day do we sin and we commit offenses and we do things that really are not pleasing to God, yet he forgives us simply by giving us another day, right? Something to think about. So I just wanted to share some of the feedback this week that came across over social media. Don't have too much more to say about it. I think I've said it all that I can say for this week on the topic of forgiveness. I am truly enjoying this topic, and I hope you are too. So remember to follow me on social media, Instagram at I am Katrina Johnson. And until next time, stay inspired. Let's keep the conversation going by emailing me at katrina@katrinajohnson.online. That's katrina@katrinajohnson.online. So grateful that you joined me on this episode. Remember, information plus inspiration equals transformation. And until next time, stay inspired.